Hi everyone, welcome back to the GRC Sentinel. Today we're tackling a question that every auditor, risk manager, and leader has wrestled with. How do you design controls that actually work, not just look good on paper? Quick poll before we dive in. Have you ever seen a control that looked brilliant in theory but failed miserably in practice? Maybe it was so complicated that people invented shortcuts, or so irrelevant that everyone ignored it. Drop your story in the comments. I promise we've all been there. Controls are supposed to prevent, detect, or correct risks. But here's the truth. A control is only effective if it's practical, understood, and consistently applied. Think about it. If a control requires 10 steps just to approve a coffee purchase, guess what? People will bypass it faster than you can say latte. Complexity kills compliance. This is where COSO's internal control framework comes in. It reminds us that controls must be embedded in the control environment. That means integrity, accountability, and clarity of responsibility. If people don't buy into the values behind the control, they won't follow it. So how do we design controls that actually work? 3 golden principles. Simplicity. Keep it clear and easy to follow. If your control needs a PhD to understand, it's doomed. Relevance. Align controls with real risks, not hypothetical ones. COSO calls this specifying suitable objectives. Ownership. Assign responsibility so someone is accountable. COSO emphasizes establishing structure, authority, and responsibility. Which principle do you think is hardest to achieve? Simplicity, relevance, or ownership? Drop your answer below. Personally, I think ownership is tricky because nobody ever volunteers to be the control police. Here's a classic example. A company introduced a control requiring 2 signatures for every expense, even for $10 coffee purchases. What happened? Delays, frustration, and eventually, non-compliance. The fix: apply the control only for expenses above a reasonable threshold. That's relevance in action. COSO would call this selecting and developing control activities that mitigate risks to acceptable levels. Interactive prompt. Have you ever adjusted a control to make it more practical? Tell us how you did it. We might feature your idea in a future episode. And yes, coffee-related controls are welcome. Let's zoom out. COSO's framework has 5 components. Control environment, tone at the top, integrity, accountability. Risk assessment, identify and analyze risks. Control activities, the actual policies and procedures. Information and communication, make sure people know what's expected. Monitoring activities, check if controls are working and adapt. Think of it like building a house. Environment is the foundation. Risk assessment is the blueprint. Control activities are the walls and doors. Communication represent windows, so people can see what's happening. Monitoring represents maintenance crew. Without all 5, your house or your controls fall apart. Here's your challenge for the week. Pick one control in your organization. Ask yourself, is it simple? Is it relevant? Does someone own it? If the answer is no to any of these, it's time for a redesign. And remember, COSO's principles aren't just theory. They're practical tools to make controls effective and sustainable. Controls don't have to be complicated. In fact, the best ones are simple, relevant, and owned. When designed well, they protect the organization without frustrating the people who use them. If this video gave you new ideas, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more GRC insights every Sunday and Wednesday, and share it with someone who's stuck in control chaos. Thanks for watching, and remember, good controls don't just look good on paper, they actually work in practice. See you in the next episode.